Got it. This meeting is being recorded.
That's right. Jack, you're still muted. So,
How about now?
that's perfect.
Oh,
Okay.
crap, I found it.
I'm going to spotlight your video. So,
Am I on?
you are on.
Are we ready to get started?
Yes. What are you going to do?
I'm going to turn some of these lights out so that you can see what's going on out here.
Steph, I'm still not able to record.
No, you're not going to be able to.
I'll
Carl,
be recording it.
you have to record it.
Okay.
So she's recording it now.
Got it.
All right, so you saw it. Here's what we're going to do. Let me find the right button here.
Over in vMix.
Yes, thank you.
There you go.
There's a double rim bowl, and that's what I'm going to demonstrate for you tonight. I had seen a picture of them, something similar to it, and I think I saw it on Facebook, but I don't know. I saw it a couple of years ago, and I was trying to figure out how to do it, and it took me a while. And when I finally discovered it, and I'll share that with you. Let me see if I can make this thing work. There's a different view. Oh, come back here. All right, hang on. So there's a different view. You can see that it's a double cut rim on it. More distinctive. Here's the bottom, so you can see how it looks from the bottom side. And that kind of plays into this, which is done kind of exactly opposite from the way I'm going to do tonight. That one's a little bit complicated. And so we're going to do one that's a little bit simpler tonight. And so when I discovered how this is done, I kind of felt like a high school senior that was just figuring out what all the sophomores learned their freshman year, because it was so simple. But let me show you a little picture here. I don't have a picture of it, so I'll just hold it up. This was where I started. Get a little light on it. This is where I started. That was the first piece I tried to make. So you can see it wasn't really successful until I started messing around with it a little bit more. So let me play you a little video, and then it'll kind of give you an idea of what we're going to lead into here. Did it come up with audio?
No.
Okay, so let me pause it. So I'll just explain it. That's about a 3.5-inch sphere that I cut, just a plain little round ball. And it's going to start over again. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to chuck it up here on the lathe. And what I want you to see is that when it's in the lathe and it's turning, it's actually round. Imagine that. But as I stop the lathe, let me see if I can get the audio to work here. Apparently not. See, as I turn it, you'll notice that it still runs true no matter what position it's in. So obviously, you know, a sphere is going to do that because that's what it is. The outside of the surface area is exactly the same distance from the center all the way around. It stays on the center axis, and as long as it stays the same distance from the headstock, it's not going to move. Now here's a basketball so that I can explain the demonstration to you a little bit better. It's assume that it's round. If you look right at the bottom where my finger is, you'll see that it's got a little wobble in it, but it's because the ball's not round. It's not because it's not centered. If we turn it a little, we tighten it back up, we spin it again, it stays in exactly the same spot. There's a little bit of wobble in the bottom. And the reason for that is that the center never changes in relationship to the axis of the lathe, and it never changes because of the distance from the cup chuck it's in is always the same. So what I want you to imagine now is that That's just another demonstration. I want you to imagine now is that if we consider the right half of that ball disappears, it's just not there, okay? And we're only dealing with half a sphere, and we chuck it up, we're gonna have exactly the same results as we did when the whole thing was there. The left side of it on the headstock is gonna run true. So if we have a half sphere and we actually rechuck it to a 15 to 20 degree angle like that, tighten it up, it's still going to run true. Now that's the secret to turning one of these double rim bowls, is that you've got to have a sphere to start with. And then when you rechuck it, it re-registers, it still runs true. So, all right, we get rid of that. So what we're going to start with here is, I'm going to start with this. And what this is this is the plug out of one of the bowls that I've cored. Now you can start with a plain block of wood. You just got a lot more work to do. In this case, these come out of here, and this particular little block is just a little too small to use for anything. I mean, nobody wants a 6-inch bowl. They have no value to sell. And after a while, everybody knows as a wood turner, you just end up with a ton of them around the shop. So it's got a hole in it because that's the way I do it when I core them. So we're going to put it on a screw chuck. And we're going to attempt to make this. Let me change this camera a little bit so you can see it. We're going to make a sphere right here. So we've got a template that I cut. It's got different sizes. I've got a 5-inch radius here. Now you notice this is not a complete circle because I'm not going to use a complete sphere. I'm just going to make a piece of a sphere. So I've got a 5-inch radius here. I think this is a 6. I've got a 7 here, and I've got an 8 here. Sometimes the piece falls in the middle. I selected a piece that was going to be easy on me that was close to this. So we're going to cut this length that we've got in here to match one of these curves. Now, if anybody has any questions, just yell in here, yell my name and ask, because I don't want to be all alone out here talking to myself. So thank you for that laugh. So what we're going to do is we can get an idea here of where we're at. And you'll see that's pretty close to 7. Let's see what 6 looks like. 6 is a little too small, okay? 7's a little too big. So what we're going to do is we're going to true this up so this becomes a 7-inch. Now, if you'll notice these little marks right here, there's right there. I've discovered that when you're doing this, I'm going to try and move this camera a little bit further back so you guys can get a little bit better view. Is the lighting okay? Everybody see what's going on down there?
Yeah.
Fine. Help a little. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to true this up so that we have a half sphere. Now, this mark right here is about 40% of this complete sphere, because here's what I found. If you when I go to chuck this into a cup chuck, if I actually had half a sphere here turned the other way, if I had it turned like this, and I had half a sphere in here, when I bring my tailstock up, my tailstock is going to be right in the middle of the center. There's not going to be anything to hold this in. When I get there, I'll tell you a couple of ways to combat that. But I found making these things kind of narrow and wide here works better than deep like a bowl. So we're going to turn this, and we're going to keep the width of this is about 7 inches, and the depth of it is about 2.5 inches. I want it to end up, before I turn it on a cup, I want it to end up between 30 and 40%. So I'll do you some quick math here. So if it's 7 inches wide, 30% of that would be about 2 inches. So I want this distance to be about 2 inches when I'm finished. If I went to 40%, 40% would be roughly 2.5 inches, maybe a little bit more. So I want to stay in there because in the end, it makes my by rechucking it a lot better, it's going to run a lot truer than if I try and make it rounder or I try and make it flatter. So everybody with me on that?
Yes.
All right, let's see if we can true it up here. This is the slow boring part of this. It takes a while. Okay, I'm gonna need to take quite a bit out of the center. First thing I ought to do is round the whole thing up where it runs true. Because if I get it into a sphere and it's not running true, it's not going to do me any good. If anybody wants to know anything about any of these cuts I'm making, this is a bevel supported cut. The reason you can tell that is right there I'm not getting anything. The tool's touching the wood. I'm not getting a cut. As I roll the tool a little bit, it starts to cut. So it is a bevel supported cut, but it's a real open fluted cut. It's what I would consider a really aggressive cut. So it's one you want to kind of learn slowly. If you haven't been turning a while, I don't think it's a cut you want to jump into and start on. But
it's real easy to get a catch.
Well, yeah, anytime you're making an aggressive cut. The problem is to be on the bevel, I'd have to bring the tool way out here away from my body. This would be the proper way to do this. But I have no control over the tool because the handle's way out here. And I want the handle back in here close to my body. So this way, I've actually got the heel of the tool. I've actually got the heel of the tool right down here in my body. So let me see if I can do this real quick. There, now you can see both images. Okay, so you see it's down in here. I've got it here. It's fairly aggressive because I can see the flute is opened right here, right up in here. But I'm going to lay it in here on the heel, and I'm going to roll it just a little bit. I'm going to raise the handle up, and as I do, it'll start to cut. That would not be a cut that I would teach somebody that was just beginning to learn to turn. That is, the other day I was watching Rudy do a demo, and I asked him why he didn't use that cut. And he says, because I don't want to show him that cut. I said, okay. You see, I'm still way too high here in the center, but at least it's round now. I don't have any, I've got one little spot right here I haven't cut, but we'll get to that. So we're going to round it up. And hopefully it's not going to take a long time, because sometimes it does take a long time. Depends on how good I am. I practiced earlier today. This little spot right here is not important. It doesn't matter whether this is part of the sphere or not here in the middle, because we're going to put a tendon down there so we can just kind of get it out of our way. See, I'm touching right here. Can you see that? How's my light?
Yeah.
Let me get that light
Yeah,
down
that's great.
Light's
Good.
great.
here. See it right there? I'm touching right there, and I got a big gap right here. So I need to come down some more right through here.
Hey, Jack,
Yes.
can you move the tailstock camera a little more forward? Because so we
What do you
can
want to show?
so your body, and we're seeing a lot of the curtain behind you. There
Really?
you go. That's awesome.
Okay. Is that showing what you need to see?
Yes, it is. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. See why I didn't want to start with a block of wood tonight, folks?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
You can do that. You can start with a block. It just takes a lot longer to get to this point when you do.
Makes a bigger mess on your floor too.
Yeah. And we've got a big enough mess out here. this is the most important part of this whole process, because if you don't get this right, none of the rest of it's going to work. Your lines are going to be off. So you got to take your time here. And when I'm doing this, I'll tell you how I made this little jig. This little jig right here, I cut it out on the bandsaw, and then I put a piece of MDF up here, and I turned it the diameter I wanted and glued some sandpaper on it, and stuck this piece in there so that I got the diameter I wanted. And sometimes I fall in the middle. I'm close right now. I'm just going to do a little shear scrape there. I don't know if you can see it
A little gap.
right here. I'm touching right here, which is fine because I'm going to take part of this off anyway. And then I'm touching right here. I may need to make another shear scrape from about here to the center. And that ought to bring me really, really, really close. Get rid of the center part that doesn't matter.
Really, really close to me. It looks really, really close to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it may look close, but it's one of those things where if you're close when you start, but you're not close enough, when you finish, your rims don't match up.
Oh.
Okay, I'm showing about right there, right here, I'm showing about a half a millimeter off, and I'm touching here, so I need another little shear scrape. I need another little shear scrape out to about right there. Step that down.
Jack, what speed are you doing this at?
Whatever comes up, that's 1200 on that one. So I tell you what I think about speed. I think you should turn it whatever speed feels comfortable. Some days I come out here and I feel like turning at 1200, and some days I come out here and I feel like turning at 600. All right, I'm touching. I've got a little bit of a gap. I'm touching right here, and I'm touching right here, just slightly. So here, and my other mark, I lost it. Here. Those, I'm barely touching in those two spots. Slow it down. Take a little scrape here, and a little scrape here. That's pretty close. It's going to be off about a half a millimeter. All right, we're going to call that good and move on. Can I take this? Y'all need this? Let me move this camera here to here. Move that. Okay, everybody with me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Tell me if my lighting is not good, because this is one of the
Lighting is
problems.
good. No, the lighting is good.
Okay, I talked to several other guys that are doing these demos, and we've all discovered the same thing. When the lighting is good for you guys, we can't see anything. Sorry, but Jason's been over here, you know, and he teaches lighting, and I'm going to need a register mark here. So I'm going to run my tailstock up and put it in, leave a mark there. I'm also going to need to make a tenon here. I always measure my tenons. This is a little thing. You're going to see this come out in the AAW magazine next month. I submitted it for tips, and they picked it up. This is going to be, I'm going to chuck it on my smallest chuck, and that's the hole right there. This sits right here. I stick that in the hole, boom. I've got a line on it. So
Ah,
that's soon.
that
That's
is
a handy dandy little thing.
If
that is
I
really cool.
if I cut my tendon to that line, I should be in good shape. I run a Vic Mark chuck. Vic Mark chuck is a dovetail style chuck. This is the tool that I use here to cut my dovetail. This angle here, right there, is the same as the angle on my dovetail, which is a little bit less than 90. I'm guessing it's 80 degrees or anything. Just a plain little scraper. This was a parting tool and I made it. When I line it up here, perpendicular to the bedways, and I go in just like that. And that's my line right there. You can see on this tailstock camera, I'm gonna come right up to the line I made right there. I'm gonna go in. Square it all up nice and clean. Now, the only problem with this particular tool, somebody's got a radio or something going. So the only problem with this tool is when I'm cutting this way, that corner's getting used, and when I'm cutting this way, that corner's getting used. So that corner gets used twice as fast as the two sides, so it rounds over. So if I really want it to fit in my chuck well, I need to clean out this little base notch right here. I do that with a small spindle gouge. I just take it point first, slide it in there, make a little groove. That gets it nice and clean, so it's going to register good in my chuck. Now, I'm not running true on this outer surface here. I'm going to kind of cut my rim down just a little bit before I spin it around, because it's going to give me another line to register with. So I'm just going to clean it up a little bit right here. You can tell I can't really get a bevel support cut here. I don't have any room. So this is just an open. This is one of those catch cuts. Go use it. See how far down I need to go. I need to get down to about here because I got a little bad spot in it right there. Actually, maybe I don't. We'll get it out a different way. So all right, so there's my piece. We've got it partial sphere, so it's spherical, I guess is the name for it. What I need to do is what makes it easier is if I give myself a register mark here on how deep I want to go when I cut my second, this is obviously going to be one of my rims, even though I'll lower it down. When I go to cut my second rim, I don't know how deep to make it because it's going to be, when I'm cutting this part right here, I need to cut this part up here the same depth as this part down here. So I need to put me a mark up here that's going to tell me how deep to go. The easiest way to do that is put a parting tool up here. Figure out how deep I'm going to go. Yeah, a little bit deeper. Now, that's how deep I'm going to go. All right. Have I lost anybody?
No, we're with you.
All right. One thing about turning at home is you always have all the tools you need, and you always know where they're at. Anybody does demonstrations knows sometimes you get off somewhere and that one tool you thought you had, you don't have. So here's a little cup. that I've made. It had an accident earlier today. It lost a piece of it. So I had to come back and put some super glue in it. And I think it'll be fine without that piece. I have also used some PVC cups. Let me show you one of those real quick, because I've got one right here in the shop. Here's a PVC cup. It's got a piece of MDF in it. It's been threaded right there. The problem with doing these with that is this is slick and the piece wants to slip on it. And I want it to be a little bit more secure than that. So this goes in here. And if we get it right, no matter what we do, this outer surface stays the same distance from my tool rest, which means we're going to end up with the same diameter cut, even though we're going to cut here and here.
Jack, is that cup made with MDF? The outer layer?
I'm sorry? Is what?
The cup that you made is the
Yes,
outer layer
this is-
MDF?
Yeah. And I should have soaked it in super glue when I made it. Let me double check it and make sure it's running true before we even start. Because if it's not running true, we're not ever going to succeed at what we're trying to. The more careful we are that everything trues back, is true and gets re-registered in the same spot, the easier it's going to be to make this thing work. Yeah, it's off a little bit. Not much. All right. So here we go. Now, we're going to look at our rim right here. We had a bad spot in it.
Hey, Jack.
Yes.
The picture-in-picture is obscuring some of what the work
Okay.
you're doing.
How about that? Okay.
Thank you.
So here's our registration mark on how deep we're going to go. And somewhere along here, we had a little bad spot. You need to decide what part of this you want to cut away. Right there is I didn't get it really true. So let's remove this part here. Let's get rid of this part here and save this part on the other side. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to take this piece and we're going to tilt it whatever angle we want it to. The part we want to get rid of has to be the part sticking out the furthest. Let's try it about right there. Ease that in there. That may be too much. Let me see. So here's the top rim. Yeah, that's too much. Let's back it off a little bit. Try again. So if I were to make a cut right now, I'd be taking out that much, which is pretty close to where I want to be. That will be our new rim. Let me tighten this down. Now, one of the reasons I was talking about staying below 40% here, right now, in order for this piece is fairly secure. If I were to make it thicker through here, this tailstock would be approaching the center of the sphere, which means this whole piece could rotate and come out. Obviously, we have it out of balance here, so it could come out. I haven't had one come out yet. When I get one that's rounder, what I do, and I'm going to try not to do that. I'm going to check it. It's in there pretty solid. If I don't get a catch, we'll be all right. What I have done is you come in here with some hot glue, and you can hot glue this. And then when you're done with all this, you can put some alcohol on it. It'll make the glue come loose from the bowl, and you can pull it back off. That's just a little bit of safety item. But it's going to want to come out this way. This is where the weight is, right here. So if it kicks out, it's going to kick out this way, which means it's going to have to tear out this whole section right through here. And it's not going to do that. So we got it pretty solid. Now, I can tell you if we're going to be successful right now. If we're going to be successful, this line right here has got to run true.
Go get your wheelchair. A pain in the ass to put in now.
I swing this one over and you bring the other in.
Right. Everybody see that right there?
Yes.
See that distance right there? I'm going to bring that up closer. That's about 1 millimeter right there. If we're going to be successful, that distance has got to run fairly true. All right, there it is. Can you see the light right there?
Yes.
It's turning.
Yes.
I would say that's within tolerances. That's about a 1/2 millimeter wobble. Can you see the little bit of a wobble that it's got? How it gets a little bit wider here and a little bit narrower. So we did a pretty good job there. So let's cut it.
Jack, that's a function of how accurate you turn the sphere in the first place, correct?
That's correct. That's the reason. That's why you need to spend your time getting it right. If you get it right, then it makes the rest of it easier. We may lose this here. I want to keep this so you guys can see. So hang on just a second. Let me see if I can. That makes it a little bit easier for you to see. Okay, back up again. Okay. All right, so everything's running good. We're in there good and solid. I don't think it's going to move. I'm going to start with a parting tool because I want to come to this same depth. I want to come to the same depth here that I did in the beginning on the edge, and then I want to line those two depths up.
Jack, are you going straight in or at an angle?
No, I'm going straight in right now.
Okay.
Because the only thing I'm using this for is a depth gauge.
Okay.
I'm looking right here at that depth of that cut and the depth of that cut. You see them?
Oh, yes, yes.
There and there. If they're the same, and I match it up, this one needs to be a little bit deeper. Watch it and you'll see it get a little bit deeper when I make this cut. It's a little bit deeper, they'll match. And that means my second rim will be the same width as my first rim. That's going to be close enough. Now all I have to do is take all this other stuff out. And, you know, this is one of those things where you use whatever tool you're comfortable with using to remove it. I would suggest you see it right here? Right there where I cut those two lines where they come back together, you'll see they're almost.
In the camera?
Hang on.
There you go.
You're right there in the spot. You see that's almost flat across there, that I've met the two lines.
Yeah.
So they're about the same depth. So now all I have to do is make that cut and take them out. I'm going to use a bowl gouge, and it's going to come in contact way up here first. And I'm going to cut down into this other piece because I cannot get on bevel of any kind and come out. The only thing I could do to come out, the only way I could do to come out would be totally unsupported. I'm going to be able to get a little support going in, even though I'm going to be cutting mostly. So, and you talk about a ghost image. You're going to see a little bit of a ghost image up here. See it right there? But since I've only got one wing, you know, if Rudy Howe was doing this and he was doing a platter, let me see if I can get it timed where you can see it better.
It's nothing going to help.
Cameras do weird things with lighting.
I can't sit in
Well, I'm glad I don't have to look at that very long. I don't want to go any faster than that, so let me leave it right there. Okay, so I'm going to come up here like this, and I'm going to ease into this thing with just the tip. I'm going to find my bowl right there. That's on. I'm touching that bowl edge with the bevel, just the back side of the bevel. No cutting edge at all. I'm going to come right back off the end of it and catch it. I can open up my bowl gouge just a little bit. Same thing. If I don't change anything, I should be able to come right back to the same spot. Now, if you're looking at the ghost image at the top, right up here,
Uh-huh.
you can see where the cut is, right there.
Yes.
Right there.
Yes.
See my cut?
Uh-huh.
That's all I'm cutting so far is from here to here. Got to look at that same ghost line. You hear that knot? Y'all hear that?
Yes.
That's me. That's getting too hard on the bevel. I need to back off the bevel, get more cutting edge in. And what's happened is I'm making an outside curve here. So as I'm coming down, if I get the edge, cutting edge started here, as I'm coming down, if I don't rotate my handle around, more and more my bevel is coming in contact because of the angle I'm at. So I've got to keep rotating. I might make the cut like this, and the whole back end of the tool, which you can't see. And I don't know that I can make this thing work. Hold on just a second.
Would you use a skew chisel on that cut?
I wouldn't. No, you can't keep, a skew chisel has to, it needs to run on a bevel. And I'm only hitting the bevel here, and then I'm catching mostly what I'm turning is air.
Yeah.
So
Are you trying to show
right
us
now, but you see,
where you're
I'm trying to
cutting
show you
through?
the handle. See the
Oh,
handle?
okay.
You see how it's going to swing? It's got to swing faster than the cut. The cut here, if you look at the top, it's only going an inch, but the handle in my butt is going 6 inches to stay in. So watch the cut. I'm going to find it again. There's my bevel, touching it. I'm going to come out. I'm going to start the cut. If it's bouncing like that, I'm getting too much bevel in it. All right, let's try it this way. I'm not having good luck that way. I should have mentioned when we had the bow chucked up earlier, we should have done a little sanding because it's a lot easier to sand it then than it is now. All right, let me turn this camera off so you can see. It's kind of a nasty looking mess there. There. See it? Look in the ghost image at the top. See it disappear?
Oh, yeah.
See this cut start right there on the lip? See it coming on down?
Jack, what kind of RPMs are you turning?
That's about 900.
Okay.
Remember, this thing's out of balance.
Right.
And I don't want to turn it really fast. If I were to turn it a little faster, this would be a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we got our line here at the bottom. That's not too bad. We didn't catch it there at the top quite enough. Let me try a little scraper and see how I do with that. See if I got a square nose scraper here somewhere. We'll round it up a little bit. We can get it a little smoothed out a little bit better with a scraper because I left some lines in it. You guys do know that when you do a demo is when you get everything goes wrong in a demo, don't you?
They're all the examples that we need to see. Every permutation.
This is just a plain old square nose scraper. I've got the handle up higher. I've got it centered up on the tool rest so that if I were to point it straight at the axis, it would be in the center. I'm not doing that. I'm pointing it downward And that cleaned it up a lot. So I think it needs to be a little bit deeper. I didn't get a good clean line there, but let's see if we can square it up. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to cut this nice and crisp. So I've got a half-inch spindle gouge. I'm going to come in here nice, got it perfectly straight up and down, totally neutral on the. I'm gonna flip it over and come get the bevel and come right into that corner. Let's take a look at that. Okay. Clean it up a little bit more. Still got a little bit of torn there. Okay, that looks pretty good. Everybody with me so far?
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna put a couple of burn lines in it for a couple of reasons. It shows up what we've done better, and if we've made any mistakes, it kind of helps us hide them. I'll put a burn line there. I'm gonna come in right here, put a burn line there. When you're lucky enough that your wife bought you an air conditioner for your birthday, you discover things like putting burn lines on things with the garage closed really stinks it up fast. This was a piece of cherry. It burns really nice too. Right, Jason?
Yep.
All right. So there we go. Now comes our second challenge. Questions?
Not yet.
Can everybody go make one of these when I finish?
Sure. 3 or 4.
Hey, Jack,
That's good. Yes.
the reason I asked if you could use a skew chisels, because you can do like a scraping cut with a skew, can't you?
Yeah, you can, but most people can't use a skew for anything other than a doorstop. So I know some professional turners that think they make great doorstops. Don't they, Ernie?
I learned that from Don.
I wasn't going to name a name. All right. We got a chuck here, cutter tendon. I'm going to just bring that up tight just a little bit. That gap is about right. Maybe it's a little bit too wide for my chuck because I want my chuck to make complete contact. So I ended up cutting it a little bit wide, but that's okay. I'm going to bring my tailstock up, put a little pressure on it, loosen it up just a little bit. Make sure it's nice and snug in there, put a little pressure on my tailstock. I'm going to tighten it up a little bit there, a little bit here, a little more here, a little more here. All right. Now we get to see if it registered true again. If it did, see if I get a light right there. See the distance right here on the rim?
Yes.
I'm going to turn this around where you can see it a little better. You see a little light right there? If we got it centered back again, that distance is going to stay the same. Oh, it didn't. See it right there? It got wider.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're hitting now. So we got off just a little bit. We're a little tight right there, a little wide right there. That means the rim on this bowl right here, the second rim, is going to be off about 1 millimeter because that's about what we're off there. So most people are not going to notice 1 millimeter. So going to get away with it. What it might cause some problems with is right here. I want to put another burn line in this thing, and as you'll see, it's going to wobble a little bit. See it?
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually wobbling quite a bit.
Can you move the piece on the tailstock just a smidge to get that wobble out?
No, the only way to get that wobble out is going to be in the chuck. So I could rechuck it, but I don't really want to do that. So let's forget the second burn line. Let's cheat on it. Let me take a look at it here real quick. Yeah, I got about a, I might can true that up just a little bit. Let's take a chance here. You guys do know the difference in experience in wood turning is learning how to fix your screw ups, don't you? That's the difference in somebody that's been turning for 3 years and somebody that's been turning for 10 years. The guy with 10 years has made more mistakes and figured out how to fix them. All right. Let's see if we can make this line in here. The worst thing that can happen is it messes up. It won't be the first piece I messed up. It'll just be the second piece I messed up today. See, I lost the line here. So I'm going to have to cut it a little bit deeper. Because if I don't have a line, the wire's not going to run through.
I know. There we go.
All I've got to have is a little bit all the way. I still don't have it right here. See, I've lost it here. I've got it here.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to try it. This is a function of speed and pressure because it's all burned by friction. Friction makes the wire get hot. There it goes. All right. Well, that came out pretty well. They came back almost together there. So that's going to give us two distinctive lines that'll show off our two rims on our bowl. All right. So now we can go back to hollowing it out. We'll take a little bit off this rim here. Here's our new rim. So now what we have to do is establish where our second rim is going to be. So if we look at the width of our outer rim, it's about right there. Call it a fat 1/16 of an inch. So if I come right here, remember we were out of center a little bit. We've got a fat 1/16 here, but we got a skinny quarter there. So Everybody follow that?
Yes.
I got a fat 1/16 of an inch here, but on the other side where it didn't re-register perfectly, I got a, you know, probably, I don't have an 1/8. That's probably an 1/8 of an inch. Not quite an 1/8 of an inch here. A little more than a 1/16 of an inch there. So that's going to establish where our bowl is going to be. Now all we have to do, all the hard part's over. All we have to do is hollow it. If you notice, I'm going in with the flute wide open because I can't get the flute like this and go in there. It's going to skate out on me because I can't get my handle over far enough because of the tailstock. I could take the tailstock off, but I like it. So I'll just open the flute up where it doesn't want to grab. Start in real careful, then I can get it on its bevel. Right now, no bevel. As soon as I get it started, I have a bevel. I can make the cut. Now my problem is going to be, this is a 60-degree bowl gouge here. It's not going to make this turn anymore. That's all I can get out of that tool. So what I'll do is swap it out for a 40-degree bowl gouge, and I'll be able to get in there. Let's see what we got here. Go ahead and get rid of this. Sorry about that. Let everything drop. Which camera do you guys want? This one or the other? That one?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can move it out here. I'll try not to make you drunk here when I give it to you. It's not wanting to stay where I'm putting it, but
Install Facebook Messenger on here.
there. Okay. I'm going to go back to my other bowl gouge, but give me a second. I'm going to sharpen it so I can get good clean cuts.
You didn't bring 2 or 3 of those gouges to the demo?
Sorry?
You didn't bring 2 or 3 of those bowl gouges to the demo?
There's always one smart aleck in the group. All right. We're running at about 1,300 RPMs here. Clean this edge up right here.
That's a pretty nice tool rest you got there, Jack. Where'd you get it?
It's a robust.
Okay.
You can talk to Don Geiger. He knows.
Don Geiger is the robust tool in this area.
I've heard nothing but good things about their tool rest. So
I like it because the reason I like it is because on a regular tool rest, you can't drop down here low enough to make a shear scrape for a shear cut. This one doesn't have anything out here. You can drop it all the way down.
yeah.
So it's very, very versatile. I make a lot of boxes, and this little curved end lets me get in there to make boxes really well. All right, so let's do a little measuring here. We got 2 different thicknesses here. We want to make sure we don't go through. We're going to measure on the double part here. So I'm going to measure here. And I'm good till about almost the bottom of it. So the reason I'm doing this, let's see if I can show you this one. This is one I practiced on earlier today. You see that right there? Right there.
Oh, yeah. That's a little thin.
And then a hole.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So you want to be careful when you have two different rims. You can have the right depth on one and be a little bit thin on the other one. You go in here on this bevel like this, and you just push the handle away from you till it starts to pick up the cut right there. And then you just swing the handle. The front hand doesn't move. Front hand is just the pivot point. So you come in here, you're on the bevel, bring the tool on around till it starts to cut. Sees it right around. Drop the tool handle down for a shear scrape on this lower wing. Come in here nice and easy.
Jack, can you move the camera a little to the left? There we go. Thanks.
This handle drop down, see? I'm using this lower wing, and all I'm doing is taking those two cuts I just made and just blending them together very easily. All right. We're good to right there. You have to remember one thing. Let me show you something. Here, where I cut for this tenon, all this was a sphere, but I cut back into that sphere here. If I carry this same wall thickness all the way down, it'll be the right thickness here, and I may cut my whole foot off there because I've cut back into that sphere. So along in here, I need to let my wall thickness slowly get wider so that when I go back later and take this little hump out right here, and I'll show you that, I don't go all the way through the piece. So. If you'll notice when I was cutting this, all these little grooves I've left in here, can you see them?
Yeah.
I didn't cut all the way. If you're cutting, like here's one of them right here, if I'm cutting and I allow my tool to go all the way into where I cut before, it's going to catch this wing, it's going to get a catch. So you need to step these out very carefully. It also leaves you a place to start. You can see that one right there. Okay, if I were to come back and I pick up this next one, I'd stop it just short right there. Because if I carry on, now I'm cutting way too much wood out. You just stage them in like that. All my front hand's doing is holding the tool down and pulling the tool back. It's not pushing the tool forward. I just removed it. Here's the tool with just one hand. That bevel drives that tool. And when it does, you get a nice clean surface like that. When you allow this hand to interfere, you get lines like I have right here. So allow your back hand to do this, to do the steering, and your front hand to bevel to pivot the tool. Started to get a little bit wider right here. That's a little bit too early, so I need to come back up about here, take some more meat out. About right there.
Ugh.
Bless you.
Yeah, it sure does get me.
Is that sawdust bothering you, Kathy?
A little bit, yeah. Blowing right at the camera there, you see?
I think that's psychological, Kathy.
Yeah.
We're down to right there, so we're doing pretty good. On that bevel, all I'm doing is just bringing that tool right back around, reestablishing that cutting, and swinging right back into it, stopping short. All right, now we need to start getting it, just follow that right on around because we've got about the right thickness to clear our bottom. All the way through the center. Get your cutting, and you come right up to the center. Just slow down, because that wood's going a lot slower here than it is out here. It's longer to cut. It's a little bit flat in the bottom. I think we're good there. See where we're at here. All right, there. I'm about a 1/4 inch right here to the edge of the foot, so I need to bring out a little bit more at the bottom of it. Leave that line there. I know how much I've taken out. All right. All right, I think our depth's good. I think our wall thickness is good. I got a few little tool marks right here on the end grain. This is my end grain here. Oh, we're developing a crack. I was wondering what the chatter was. We got a starting right here, right there. So it wasn't going to be a museum piece anyway. It's a demo piece. I'm going to grab a negative rake scraper. This is a negative rake scraper. It's got a bevel on both sides. The bevel's on this side. If this thing is round enough, that crack is running right on down through there. It's opening up. All right, so you guys are going to get to see how to fix a crack. What time is it? Do I have enough time to fix this?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. We're going to fix a crack. Super glue stains the wood. changes colors. If you want the wood to end up the correct color when you're finished using super glue on a crack, you need to put some sealer on the wood itself. This is just some lacquer sealer here. I'll put it on the ends, the outside. See how it wicked through right here? Oh, you can't. You can now. See how it's wicking through right there?
Yeah.
We're gonna put some here too. That's gonna dry. We're gonna help it a little bit. That's gonna dry. It's gonna seal those pores in that wood so that the super glue stays in the crack and doesn't run into the pores adjacent to the crack and stain our piece.
Ah.
Now, that's a heck of a good idea.
Actually, a hair dryer works better. See it ease, see the stuff easing back out? See that right there? I haven't got it dry
You
yet.
gotta raise the camera, Jack.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me get a different camera.
There you
There you go.
See, I don't know if you can see it right there when I pull it together. I still got some lacquer in it that's not dry. It's got to dry because if it doesn't dry, the super glue has nothing to stick to. That's hot. That opened it right on up. Can you see it now?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
It opened
Oh,
up.
wow, yeah.
Oh, there it goes.
Okay. That's because I put too much heat on it. We'll fix that too. Hey, remember, what did I say the difference between a 2 or 3 year turner and a 10-year turner? Learning how to fix screw ups.
Mhm.
You can't consider that crack a screw up, Jack, because it's a natural process of the wood drying. And, you know, you didn't.
Yeah, but I just opened it back up more.
Yeah.
So. All right. So you can see that's pretty open right now.
Yeah.
Show you how to fix it. This is another good advantage of being at home. Except I don't think that this is going to be long enough. Let me get a longer one.
Is that crack spreading?
Sorry?
Is the crack spreading down there?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's spreading.
Heading in opposite directions?
But it's not as big as some of the ones I've seen out
Yeah, we're going to fix it though.
there. Yeah, I was afraid to get her. She had it walked in. Or just disappeared for a check.
I'd be better off to do it this way. I'm just using the bar clamp here and I'm going to try and pull it together a little bit. Normally I wouldn't have got it that hot. It wouldn't have opened up that much. But it is what it is. All right, you see I've got it pretty well pulled together now. Can you see that?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, that worked really good. I'm going to show you another way to do it since that isn't successful. I call this Woodturner's friend here.
That would work wonders.
All right, we've got it pulled together now. Let's start on the inside. Let me change cameras for you. Oops.
Except it's pointing to the board.
Hang on, I've got something going on here. I pressed the wrong button here. All right, I was on the right camera. I just had it pointed in the wrong spot. So here's our crack.
Okay.
We'll start up here. We'll put a little super glue on it. It should run down in that crack. It did. Hit it with a little accelerator. It's going to be great in this closed shop. I pass out, honey. CPR work.
I'll run to the other end of the house.
All right, we're going to give that a second. We'll flip it over and super glue the other side of it. I'm just trying to make it solid enough that I can finish the demo with it. I don't care about the piece.
I have no idea. She's got infatuation with the light.
The piece is just a piece of wood. It grows on trees. It has no value. All right. Let's see what we got. My finger didn't stick to it, so it must be dry.
Now, do you got to put some glue up where it was under the tape?
No.
No?
Well, I didn't think so, but I don't think it was dry. I pulled it apart a little too soon. Either that or there's a lot of stress on it. That should, right there, should run in where it's underneath the tape.
Okay.
If that doesn't work, we're just going to move on and not worry about it. We're going to do the foot, and I'll tell you what we're going to do here. Why don't we just take it? I don't need to do anything else here. We'll just tape it up nice and tight. Leave it. And move on. Okay. So assume that I scrape this inside, I'll have to sand it if we save the bowl. That I was going to hit with a scraper right there. Anybody else other than myself and Stephanie an NCIS fan?
Oh, I am.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Pocket knife, never leave home without it, remember? Rule number 9, never go anywhere without a pocket knife. All right.
I'm into that, brother.
I'm not going to totally give up. I'm going to see if it's going to run true enough now to put a scraper on it. That's not too bad. Let's try it a little bit. Worst thing happens is it blows up. And guess what? That'll be the first piece of wood I ever blew up. It'll be exciting. We'll run this fairly slow, 500 or 600 RPMs. I actually want to just get it right here. Take a few tool marks out. Yeah, that got some of them out. That'll make it easier sand. Okay. We're going to unchuck it. There's what we've got so far. I'm going to measure my wall thickness. It's going to be the skinniest right here. I want to see how
Change camera?
We can't see that.
Okay, yeah, give me a second. Let me measure it and then I'll show you. I know you want to see, but it's actually more important that I know how thick it is. Okay, right there, where we're at, right there is the thinnest spot on the bowl, on the bottom,
Okay.
1/4 inch.
Woo.
Okay, so plenty of room. Yeah, plenty of room in it.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do now,
Some premise of it being in IKEA. IKEA's aren't.
is I'm going to go back to my overhead. I have some masking tape. Masking tape is the fastest way in the world to make a jam chuck. There it is right there. Jam chuck made. Boom. Now, if you're worried about cutting through here and having this piece come loose, let me show you one thing you can do. You can take this masking tape and you can put the non-sticky side to the non-sticky side like that. Okay? You can start it right here, just like that, and you can put it all the way around this other piece of masking, this other roll of masking tape on here. That's going to do two things for you. It's going to give or actually three things. It's going to give this masking tape that's going to drive this bowl a little more friction to do it. It's going to give it a little bit of sticky to help stick it on there. And if it happens to spin on here, it's going to stop any residue from being on the inside of a bowl. If you look at this practice bowl I did earlier, see where I had the masking tape in it? Now that'll easily sand out, but you can avoid it totally if you do this. Then all I do is bring it up, use my register mark there, my center point that I made earlier. Runs pretty true. I can live with it. All right. We're still all together? Lost no one?
Here.
Riveted.
Okay. Riveted. Somebody said that in a movie. I don't know which movie it was. We're going to take this little shoulder off right here. I got a little shoulder right here where I cut that tenon in. Remember, I used that tool and I went right straight in. We're going to take that out. My bowl's not running real true. Let me show you a secret that I learned from Don Geiger. When you get a bowl like this, it's not running true, and you go to cut this foot off, which is a lot of times because they dried by then, it's not running quite true. I used to leave a ridge way out here, and I was turning it too fast. And I learned from Don Geiger, if you slow it down, let this bevel ride, this tool, like that, in and out. I'm probably still going a little bit fast. I got it at 500 RPMs now. Let this tool ride in and out when I'm making this cut. I can blend all these ridges together. See, now it's starting to, it no longer is bouncing. It's nice and steady now. So I blended that uneven part in by riding the bevel slow enough that I can keep the bevel in contact with the wood rather than having the bevel bounce. All right. And I end up with It's not a great transition line. I still got a little ridge right there. Still got a little ridge right here. I don't have much there. Let me see if I can get a little bit more of it out. I'll try it on this pool cut. Yeah, now you could see that, but it'll easily sand out. Okay. So we've got our curve here on our bowl right. We've got a curve right. We come in here and we go into our, what's going to be our foot was our tenon. We need to take the mark side of it where the jaws grabbed it. The easiest way to do that is the same way we cut the tenon, which is with this same tool. We'll have the same angle. We don't want to go in there and have it hit like that. We want to start out here and cut a whole new clean section. And I want to stop just before I get there. Okay, got one right there, still slightly there. I don't know if you can see it. Get that light right. See it right there?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's the gap. That's the gap between the jaws. So I want to go a little bit deeper. Get it out. Okay, it's all out now. I'm gonna go to a small spindle gouge. I'm gonna come in here and roll this in just a little bit, right there. Be careful and don't hit the bottom of the bowl. If you do, it's gonna take that spindle gouge out of your hand. You know how I know that?
That's experience talking.
That's correct. We'll take it out fast. Now, I don't know how good that cut is right there. I'm not even gonna look at it. I'm gonna hide it.
No.
There's what we have. Take my spindle gouge again. Come up here, roll this just a little bit. Just like I'm rolling a bead, folks. I'm gonna undercut it here. We'll use the swing just a little bit, make a little straight right there. Now, what I'd like to do is that bowl will stay there. I'd like to put a different end on my tool, on my revolving center here. I'd like to ease this out without it going anywhere, like that. Put this on here. That's what the tape's good for. Slide me right back in to that center. Come right back up. You got to remember to take that out. Now, I'm just using about the 10 o'clock position on that tool, on that wing, to cut that. Need to drop my tool rest just a little bit. Another thing you might want to do when you get close down here is slow your lathe down, because if it comes off, it's better if it doesn't hit you really fast. You didn't see that, but I put my mask, my face shield back on that I had off there for a second. I'm going to come in here just like before, but I don't want to hit that foot. Taking just a little bit off. Guess what? Our tape held. See that? You see our tape held there? See that? It's
You're
not touching.
completely free? Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
See it?
Wow.
You don't want to stay there forever. That's that little bit of back taping I did. See that?
Yeah, wow.
A little bit of tape is pretty secure. It's not going to just fall off. It'll come off of you. Huh, the whole thing came off. It's still stuck in there. When we peel it out, no marks. So, get that off. Let's untape it and see if the glue held. We may have some tape permanently glued here that has to be sanded off. Got to find a tape here. Here we go. We got a little tape residue there. It'll sand out. When we sand this, we should not have any staining from the super glue. We got to sand a little bit right there. The gap closed back up. No gap here. Here we go.
Yay.
Yeah, very good.
Very nice.
Very nice.
And the whole secret, like I said, I felt like a high school senior that didn't know what was going on in the world. The whole secret is to make that part of a sphere right there. That's it, folks.
Thank you. Thank
That
you.
was lovely.
We have,
Great, thank you.
And
Jeff,
answer
you
any
have
questions.
questions.
Have you played around? It seems like with that sphere technique, you should be able to pull a lot of different lines and angles in there. Have you
You
done any?
can. If you'll go look at the Germans, Hans, how does he pronounce it, Stephanie?
Weissflog.
Weisslog, you'll see that they do all that kind of stuff. These guys that do these spheres, they cut all different kinds of angles, and they'll have circles in the sphere with hatches all over it. They're
Right.
using that same technique. The reason that you don't take that technique into this technique is you don't realize that a half a sphere is a half a sphere. It works just like a whole sphere, only you only got half of it.
Right.
That's what it took me so long to make the connection. Another thing, if you look at these guys that are doing all this cross hatching on this stuff with a centerpiece that looks like this, I don't know if you've seen that. I tried to get a picture of it off Facebook, but I couldn't re-find it. There's a guy that right here is a sphere, and over here is a sphere, and he's got this wedge in the middle. The wedge is solid with a bunch of burns on it. The two spheres are turned. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And he's done that technique the same way that I did this.
Right. Because it would seem you could turn that bottom off and end up with like a raised angular band or something on there. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. Once you figure out that it all comes from the idea that the distance from your tool rest stays the same as you move the part you're turning, which can only occur with a sphere. Then it opens up a whole world of ideas that you can do.
Yeah.
I just haven't gotten that far yet.
Right.
Look, it took me 2 years to figure this out and make it work. I didn't say I was fast.
Very nice, very nice.
Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it.
Actually, I wanted to show one more slide that came in late. Do you mind if I?
I don't care.
Okay.
It's up to the club.
Absolutely.
You guys know what this is, don't you?
No,
This right here?
no.
Oh, she took it out.
Oh, yeah. So this came in late. And
Wow.
I think Robert Golden was here, but I think he might have had to leave. But I thought this was really,
That's a nice job.
yeah.
Wow.
I'd like to see it from the top because it doesn't look like it's perfectly round.
Oh, the delicate work.
This is the only picture I have. So,
Spotlight me again, please.
okay.
This is a safety item. If your wife can shoot a deer at 200 yards running and hit it 5 times out of 5 times, she calls you at 2 o'clock in the afternoon to tell you she's been meetings all day and something has been itching and scratching her, and she went to the restroom and found a wood curl in her undies. Get one of these, and you'll wash your turning clothes separately than her clothes. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Jim. Appreciate it.
Good night.